Set the record straight here, just point blank. Do you have a volatile relationship with your wife? Have you ever physically touched her?
No, I don't have a volatile relationship with anybody.
They were America's favorite TV family in the 1980s. Three adorable kids who made millions laugh every week. But when the cameras stopped rolling, their real lives turned into nightmares. One lost $18 million to his own parents. Another tried to rob a video store with a pellet gun. The third was charged with attempted murder. By 2010, two were dead before age 45. Their children followed them to early graves. The show that taught us about family values destroyed the very families who created it. Gary Coleman. Gary Coleman was once one of the most famous child stars in the world. People everywhere knew his face and his catchphrase, "What you talking about, Willis?" But behind that bright smile was a life full of pain, betrayal, and tragedy. Gary's story is not just about fame. It's about how everything can fall apart, no matter how big the success looks on the outside. Gary was born in 1968 in Zion, Illinois. He was adopted as a baby. Right away, doctors discovered he had a rare kidney disease. This disease stopped him from growing, and he never grew taller than 4 feet 8 inches. He had 2 kidney transplants by the time he was 17. Even more heartbreaking, after his second transplant failed, he lived without any kidneys for almost 25 years. He survived thanks to dialysis. 3 times a week, for 4 hours each time, he sat hooked up to a machine just to stay alive. He went through this until he died in 2010. Even with his health problems, Gary's charm got him the role of Arnold Jackson in Different Strokes when he was just 10. He became the highest-paid child actor in the world. He earned $100,000 for every episode. That was a huge amount of money back then. He even started his own production company. But while he worked hard, his parents made sure they were getting paid too. They put themselves into his contracts and started taking control of his earnings. By the time Gary became an adult, almost all the $18 million he had made as a child was gone. He found out his parents and manager had taken $1.28 million through extra commissions and salaries between 1982 and 1987. Gary sued them in 1989. In 1993, a judge said Gary was right and awarded him $1.3 million, but it was too late. Legal fees, medical bills, and bad business choices like his arcade, which lost him $200,000, left him with nothing. By 1999, he was bankrupt. When he died, he was worth only about $75,000. To survive, Gary took any job he could find. He worked as a security guard and even sold personal items online in a Save Me campaign. Gary's personal life was just as troubled. He battled depression and admitted to trying to take his own life more than once. His temper got him into trouble. He faced assault charges and had public fights. In 2007, he married Shannon Price. They divorced a year later but kept living together. The police came to their home over 20 times because of their arguments. Their relationship ended in court, with Shannon trying to claim his estate after his death, but the judge said no, pointing to evidence of abuse and cheating. Gary's life ended in tragedy. On May 26, 2010, he fell at his home in Utah and suffered a brain hemorrhage. He was put on life support and died 2 days later at age 42. His death was ruled accidental, but the messy fight over his estate and the strange details of his final days left people asking questions. Dana Plato. Dana Plato's life was filled with promise, but it ended in heartbreak. She was born on November 7, 1964, as Dana Michelle Strain. Adopted as a baby, she grew up in California. As a child, she dreamed of becoming a figure skater. But by the age of 10, she was already acting on television. When she was 13, she landed the role that would make her famous. She became Kimberly Drummond on Different Strokes and quickly turned into a teen idol. Fans adored her. But behind the smiles, her life was already falling apart. At just 14, she admitted she was drinking, using cannabis, and had even overdosed on diazepam. In 1984, everything changed At the peak of her fame, she became pregnant. The show's producers didn't want that image for their family-friendly sitcom. They wrote her out of the series. That same year, she married rock guitarist Lanny Lambert. She gave birth to her only child, Tyler. But leaving the show meant leaving behind the fame and money that had supported her. After Different Strokes, Dana struggled to find steady acting work. She appeared in B-movies and low-budget films, but none brought success. In June 1989, she posed for Playboy, hoping to rebuild her career. Instead, it backfired. Critics slammed her, and Hollywood distanced itself even further. As if things weren't bad enough, her accountant allegedly stole almost everything she had. She was left with less than $150,000. There was no way for her to recover the stolen money. Her personal life was no better. She and Lanny divorced in 1990. That same week, her mother died. Dana lost custody of Tyler. She took odd jobs to survive, including working as a dry cleaning cashier in Las Vegas. In 1991, things took a bizarre and tragic turn. Desperate for money, she tried to rob a video store with a pellet gun. The clerk recognized her. "Aren't you the girl who played Kimberly on Different Strokes?" he asked. Dana was arrested. Wayne Newton, the entertainer, bailed her out. She received 5 years probation, but in 1992, she landed in jail again for forging a prescription for Valium. Dana tried to turn her life around, but addiction kept pulling her down. On May 7, 1999, she appeared on The Howard Stern Show and said she was sober. The very next day, tragedy struck. On May 8, 1999, while visiting her fiancé's family in Oklahoma, Dana died. She was just 34 years old. The cause was a deadly mix of Lortab and Soma. At first, her death was called an accident, but because of her history of substance abuse and past suicide attempts, it was later ruled a suicide. Her story doesn't end there. Tyler, her only son, could not cope with losing his mother. He battled addiction and depression for years. On May 6, 2010, just 2 days before the anniversary of Dana's death, Tyler took his own life. He was 25 years old. Todd Bridges. Todd Bridges rose to fame as Willis Jackson on Different Strokes. But behind that cheerful face was one of the most painful stories ever seen in child stardom. When the show ended in 1986, his life fell apart. What followed were years filled with addiction, crime, and moments where he nearly lost everything, including his freedom and even his life. His troubles began long before the cameras stopped rolling. In his book, Killing Willis, Bridges opened up about the dark truths of his childhood. He grew up in a home filled with violence. He saw his father hit his mother. A trusted family friend molested him when he was still very young. When he tried to tell his parents, his father didn't believe him and stood with the abuser. That broke Bridges inside. Even as he became one of the first African-American child stars to find major success, the pain stayed with him. You might remember him from Roots and Little House on the Prairie before Different Strokes made him famous. Fame did not protect him from falling deeper into despair. By age 15, he was smoking marijuana. Soon after, he moved on to crack cocaine and methamphetamine. To keep up with his drug use, he got into selling drugs and found himself on the wrong side of the law. There were arrests for felony assault and cocaine possession. In 1983, he got fined for carrying a hidden gun. In 1987, he got a suspended sentence for making a bomb threat. But the most shocking moment came in 1988. Bridges was arrested and charged with the attempted murder of Kenneth Tex Clay, a known drug dealer. The accusation was terrifying. Prosecutors said he shot Clay 8 times in a crack house while high on cocaine. Bridges admitted in court that after a 4-day binge, he couldn't even remember what happened. But a witness placed him somewhere else when the shooting took place. With help from famed lawyer Johnny Cochran, he was found not guilty in 1989. Even after that close call, his troubles didn't end. In December 1992, police arrested him again. This time, it was for having methamphetamines and a loaded gun. That low point brought him face to face with death. He thought about ending it all by making police shoot him, but instead, he chose to enter rehab in 1993. That decision changed his life. He completed a year-long program. On February 24, 1993, Bridges took his last hit of drugs. He has stayed clean ever since, now marking over 32 years of sobriety. That wasn't the end of his journey. It was a new start. In rehab, he had what he calls a spiritual awakening. It gave him the strength to leave drugs behind for good, and he wanted to help others do the same. Bridges began visiting schools across the U.S. He shared his story with young people, hoping to keep them from making the same mistakes. Slowly, he rebuilt his career. Fans saw him as Monk in Everybody Hates Chris. He also made appearances on reality shows like Celebrity Big Brother in 2022. Conrad Bane. From the very start, Bane's life was different from the dramatic turns his co-stars later faced. During World War II, he served in the Canadian Army. After the war, he moved to the United States. He became an American citizen in 1946. 2 years later, he graduated from the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. One of his classmates was Don Rickles. Bane's early work was on stage. He appeared in plays like The Iceman Cometh in 1956 and Uncle Vanya on Broadway. The theater became his home through the 1950s and 1960s. He didn't just act, he helped his fellow actors too. When he saw a struggling actor get turned down for credit, Bane co-founded the Actors Federal Credit Union. That simple act showed his deep care for others. Television audiences first noticed him in Maude. From 1972 to 1978, he played Dr. Arthur Harmon. That role opened the door to the one that made him famous. In 1978, he became Philip Drummond on Different Strokes. As Drummond, Bane played a kind and wealthy widower who adopted 2 boys from Harlem. The show dealt with tough topics like race, class, and family. It ran for 8 seasons, from 1978 to 1986. Bane appeared in 189 episodes. He also made appearances on The Facts of Life and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. While his young co-stars faced painful struggles, Bane's life stayed steady. He was married to Monica Sloan for more than 60 years. They had 3 children. Monica passed away in 2009. Even after Different Strokes ended, Bane kept acting. He toured in stage productions during the 1980s. His last television appearance was in 2011. Beyond acting, he quietly gave his time and money to good causes. He lived the kindness of the character he was known for. Bane cared deeply for his castmates. He watched with worry as fame pulled them into trouble. At one point, he gathered the young stars and gave them a firm but kind talk, trying to guide them. In interviews, it was clear how much their struggles hurt him. He spoke of them with sadness and affection. Conrad Bane passed away of natural causes on January 14, 2013, in Livermore, California. Charlotte Rae. Charlotte Rae was best known as the kind and wise Mrs. Garrett on Different Strokes and The Facts of Life. But behind that cheerful face was a woman who faced heartbreak, illness, and loss with remarkable strength. She first appeared as the Drummond family's housekeeper in 1978. Audiences loved her so much that NBC created a new show just for her character. The Facts of Life began in 1979, and Charlotte became the heart of the series. She helped guide a group of girls through the ups and downs of growing up at a private boarding school. She was so valuable to NBC that she had it written in her contract that she could return to Different Strokes if the new show failed. But it didn't. The Facts of Life ran for 7 years, and millions of viewers saw Charlotte as a second mother. In real life, things weren't so easy. In 1986, she left the show, saying she needed to focus on her health. Cloris Leachman, who had been her roommate years earlier, took over the role. Charlotte's private life had already been filled with sadness. She married John Strauss in 1951, but in 1976, after 25 years of marriage, they divorced when John revealed he was bisexual and wanted an open marriage. Charlotte never spoke badly about him, not even to their two sons. She stayed friends with him and his partner until both men passed away. The greatest pain of her life came in 1999. Her son Andy, who had autism and epilepsy, died. She called that loss the hardest thing she ever faced. Charlotte had her own battles too. She struggled with alcoholism and joined Alcoholics Anonymous in the early 1970s. It helped her find some peace, but her health problems kept coming. In 1982, doctors put in a pacemaker. That device worked for more than 30 years before it failed and forced her into emergency surgery. She also had open heart surgery and had a blocked artery cleared. Then, in 2009, cancer struck. Pancreatic cancer had already claimed her mother, sister, and uncle. Charlotte endured 6 months of chemotherapy and somehow beat the odds. She lost her hair, but wore wigs so well that few people knew what she had been through. In 2017, at the age of 91, she learned she had bone cancer. She faced it with honesty and even humor. She told People magazine she was glad to be alive and still figuring out if she wanted to fight the cancer or just enjoy whatever time she had left. On August 5, 2018, Charlotte Rae died at home in Los Angeles. She was 92. The cause was cardiac arrest, with bone cancer and metabolic acidosis contributing. Mary Jo Catllet. Mary Jo Catlet's story took a different path. She joined Different Strokes in 1982 as Pearl Gallagher, the new housekeeper. Audiences quickly loved her gentle humor and warmth. Unlike some of her co-stars, Mary Jo avoided the troubles that haunted many of them. When Different Strokes ended in 1986, she didn't disappear. Instead, she became one of those faces and voices you hear everywhere. She acted in over 100 shows and films. She appeared on MASH, General Hospital, and The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. Then came the role that made her famous all over again. In 1999, she became the voice of Mrs. Puff on SpongeBob SquarePants. The show became one of the most successful cartoons ever made. Mary Jo's character appeared in over 100 episodes, movies, and video games. She has kept that role for more than 25 years, something almost no one in Hollywood achieves. She started on Broadway in the 1960s, but her voice made her an icon to a new generation. Janet Jackson. Janet Jackson's time on Different Strokes as Charlene Dupre between 1980 and 1984 was just the start of a wild, unforgettable journey. At only 16, she landed her first record deal. By 1986, her third album, Control, made her a superstar. Then came Rhythm Nation 1814 in 1989, where she broke records no one had touched. 7 singles from that one album hit the top 5 of the Billboard Hot 100. No one had done that before. By 1991, her $32 million deal with Virgin Records was the biggest ever signed at the time. She wasn't just selling records, over 100 million in total, she was breaking down racial and gender barriers. She changed MTV, she changed pop music, 5 Grammy Awards, and a spot in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2019 proved just how far she went. Then came the crash. February 1st, 2004, Super Bowl X-Kiskin-80, Justin Timberlake, Janet Jackson, and a wardrobe malfunction that exposed her breast to 140 million people. What followed was brutal. The media called it Nipplegate. MTV, CBS, Viacom, Clear Channel. They all blacklisted her. Radio stations dropped her songs. Major stores boycotted her albums. Justin Timberlake got to perform at the Grammys. Janet was banned. Her acting dreams took a hit too, including a movie about Lena Horne that never happened. It was a disaster that haunted her career for years, but the pain didn't stop there. In 2018, Janet opened up about depression that hit hard in her 30s. She felt small, trapped by fame, racism, and sexism. Secret marriages, a tough divorce, and the shocking loss of her brother Michael in 2009 added to the heartbreak. She learned about Michael's death while filming. She spoke at his memorial and poured her grief into her work, delivering a powerful tribute at the MTV Video Music Awards. Later in life, everything changed again. In 2012, she married Qatari billionaire Wissam Al Mana. She left the spotlight for years, living in the Middle East. Then, at age 50, in January 2017, she had her first child, Isa. That joy was short-lived. Just months after Isa's birth, she separated from Wissam. But Janet bounced back. She hit the road with a record-breaking tour and launched a Las Vegas residency, proving she still had the power to fill arenas. Danny Cooksey. Danny Cooksey's story after different strokes is just as surprising. Born November 2, 1975, in Moore, Oklahoma, he moved to Los Angeles at age 8. His mother wanted to be a country star, but it was Danny who grabbed the spotlight. He became Sam McKinney, Mr. Drummond's stepson, during the show's last 3 seasons. When the show ended in 1986, Danny didn't fade away. He became a teen icon. Fans remember him as Budnick on Salute Your Shorts and Tim, John Connor's scrappy friend, in Terminator 2, Judgment Day in 1991. Music was another passion. He led the hard rock band Bad for Good, whose only album, Refugee, came out in 1992. Produced by guitar legend Steve Vai, the album got attention but didn't survive the fast-changing music scene. Voice acting turned out to be where Danny left his biggest mark. He gave life to Montana Max in Tiny Toon Adventures, Stoop Kid in Hey Arnold, Jack Spicer in Shaolin Showdown, and appeared in Pepper Ann, Dave the Barbarian, Static Shock, and many more. He became a familiar voice in animation and video games, loved by fans and respected in the industry. But his personal life brought its own challenges. In 1998, Danny married Amber Lee. They had 2 kids, Zoe and Jackson. After 21 years of marriage, Amber filed for divorce in 2019. The split was messy. She asked for sole custody, spousal support, and to go back to her maiden name. It was a painful chapter that clashed with his image as a devoted husband and father. Even through the hard times, Danny kept creating. He performed with the Shelter Dogs, who released Take Me Home in 2015. He worked with charities helping abused animals. He taught acting classes and stayed close to fans at conventions. Shavar Ross. Shavar Ross will always be remembered as Dudley, Arnold's loyal best friend on Different Strokes. But his life after the show took turns no one could have imagined. Born in 1971 in the Bronx, New York, Ross was just 7 when his parents separated. His mother moved him and his sister to Georgia. His father went to Los Angeles to chase an acting dream. It wasn't long before Ross's own path changed forever. One day, outside a Los Angeles theater, he caught the eye of a talent scout. Soon, he was doing commercials. Then he beat out more than 250 other kids for the role of Dudley. He appeared in 43 episodes of Different Strokes. His most unforgettable moments came in the chilling Bicycle Man episodes. These episodes dealt with child molestation, a topic few shows dared to touch at the time. But what made it even more haunting was that Ross was living something similar in real life. During the filming, an older man his family had taken in was abusing him. Years later, Ross bravely shared how the episodes helped him find the courage to speak up and tell his parents. The show didn't just reflect his pain, it helped him fight it. After Different Strokes, Ross kept acting. He appeared on Growing Pains, Family Matters, and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But tragedy struck when his father died of a heart attack at just 38. That loss pushed Ross to step back from acting. He tried a new path as a medical technician. Then came a turning point. He became a born-again Christian. By 1997, at just 26, he had founded the Alive Church in Hollywood. He led it as pastor for 4 years. Ross didn't follow one clear path after that. He worked as a director and entrepreneur. He took care of developmentally disabled people. He drove for Uber, flipped burgers at McDonald's, delivered pizzas for Papa John's, worked as an EMT, and provided hospice care. On Instagram, he thanked his fans for supporting him through it all. He reminded everyone that there is no shame in honest work. Through it all, Ross found something even more important: stability at home. He married Jacqueline in 1992. They have 2 children. Today, he leads Tri7 Entertainment, a company that makes inspirational films and content. Dodie Goodman. Dodie Goodman's life was just as full of surprises. She was born on October 28, 1914, in Columbus, Ohio. Her father owned a cigar factory. She dreamed of becoming a ballerina and joined the ballet at Radio City Music Hall. But Broadway soon called her name. In 1941, she made her debut in Viva O'Brien. She danced in shows like Something for the Boys, One Touch of Venus, and Call Me Madam. Then came the twist that changed everything. Comedian Imogene Coca and director George Abbott spotted her gift for comedy. They encouraged her to embrace her oddball style. Goodman found fame at 43. In 1957, she appeared on the 2nd episode of Jack Parr's Tonight Show. Viewers loved her quirky charm and funny mistakes. She even earned an Emmy nomination. But in 1958, Parr fired her for stealing the spotlight too often. That could have ended her career. Instead, it opened new doors. Goodman became a familiar face on game shows, talk shows, and summer theater during the 1960s. In the 1970s, she hit it big again. She played the mother on Mary Hartman. Every episode began with her unforgettable voice saying the show's title. In 1978, she played Blanche Hodel in Grease, a role she returned to in Grease 2 in 1982. Kids everywhere knew her voice as Miss Miller in Alvin and the Chipmunks and the Chipmunk Adventure. She also appeared on Different Strokes as Aunt Sophia Drummond, as well as Punky Brewster, Search for Tomorrow, and the Mary Tyler Moore Hour. But while fans adored her, her personal life was quiet and solitary. Goodman never married. She had no children. She was survived by 7 nieces and nephews, 11 great-nieces and nephews, and 15 great-great-nieces and nephews. Even into her 90s, she kept working. She lived her final years at the Lillian Booth Actors Home in Englewood, New Jersey. On June 22, 2008, she died of natural causes at 93.